All right, are you ready? This is Dr. Gary Huber, and this video is for those that are ready to take it to the next level and get serious. This is how to do a fast. Critical information, great stuff. Let's jump right in. So, shortest lecture ever, how to fast, don't eat. Hey, thanks for coming. Uh, yeah, there's a little more to it than that, but at the end of the day, it's what it comes down to. You're going to intentionally decide, I'm not going to eat. And please, mental mindset is key as we go into this, right? Many human beings before you have had it much rougher than not eating for 24 hours or 48 hours. So this is not an impossible task. And we have to go into it with the right mindset. Now, let me break down, what does it mean to fast? So there's lots of different ways to accomplish this, right? If we look at the first here, just simply clean eating. That just means I'm going to get rid of the carbs, increase my fat, and not necessarily even reduce my calories, just don't eat processed garbage. That's not fasting per se, but for many of you, it'll start you in the right direction. And often that's a first good step, right? Is just change the food you're eating. But then we say, well, we want more. You know, we want longevity, we want to lose weight, we want to reduce our blood sugar or reverse our diabetes. Well, then we have to start getting into some intermittent fasting. Now, the 16-8 represents 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. We'll give you a little bit more detail on all of these in just a second. But that's kind of your first tiptoe into fasting. And you may have heard, well, 12 hours is the start of intermittent fasting. 12 hours is nice, but realistically, it's a stepping stone to something more significant. And by more significant, I mean we're trying to impact the cells. We want the cells to behave differently. Going 12 hours without food is just kind of a start point. It doesn't create a lot of the change you're really looking for. Maybe an easier step for some is the caloric restriction, right? This is called fasting mimicking diet. In this case, you don't even fast. You just restrict calories, and we'll talk about that in a second. But now we're really getting into the meat of the matter. An extended 24-hour fast. Again, not the hardest thing in the world. And I guarantee you, the second and the third and the fourth time you do it, it's much easier than the first time. But we'll talk about any requirements that are needed to do a 24-hour fast. And realistically, there aren't very many requirements. And then the mother of all, the extended fast, 2 to 3 days. Sounds ominous, less ominous than you might think, and it has a lot of benefits. Speaking of benefits, why are we doing this? What's the point? Why torture ourselves, right? Well, you see the word autophagy on the far right, right, in the upper side, the benefits here. Autophagy means I'm cleaning out the garbage in my cells. Autophagy is the cell process. If I deny the cell food, it starts eating up damaged proteins and broken materials. It starts using its own internal garbage as fuel to feed itself. And that's valuable because now that cell is going to behave like a younger cell. Fasting is one of the best ways to drive your body into ketosis. And there are tons of benefits to be in a ketogenic state. Good for your brain. It's good for your muscle. It's good for athletes. It's good for a lot of things. It's one of the best ways to reverse diabetes, certainly. And it's one of the best ways to drive weight loss. So as we go down this avenue of fasting, there are many things that are going to benefit, not the least of which are brain health, general energy, and that last word you see there, ghrelin. What the heck is ghrelin? Ghrelin is a hunger hormone, and that's what starts to go up as you've spent hours not eating. Well, ghrelin sends a lot of really healthy signals to the body. Stimulates little growth hormone, stimulates vascular health. There's a lot of good things that happen to the blood vessels when we cause ghrelin to rise. But of course, in America, it's illegal. As soon as you feel hungry, you have to get a big gulp and a giant sandwich. So we're gonna go another direction here. So beyond this now, this collectively is what we're doing to live longer. It's what's termed health span. We know about lifespan. People are living longer perhaps, but the last 20, 30 years of their life are absolute crap, right? They're at the doctor's office, they're in nursing homes, they have diabetes, they have heart disease, they have chronic degenerative change. We don't want that. We want health span. We want to be dynamic, vividly alive, well into our 90s, active, doing things. That's the purpose of this. All right, so let's get a little more detail. On the clean eating, all you really have to do to eat cleaner is decrease the carbs and increase the fat. Healthy fats, real fats, natural fats, eggs and meat and avocados and coconut oil. I'm not even talking about going into ketosis, but don't be afraid of healthy fats and get rid of the carbs. In every study ever done in the last 100 years, when people reduced carbs and increased their fat, they got healthier. They lived longer, they had less heart disease, they had less cholesterol. The body just responds better to that. If we get rid of processed food, which is a lot of carbs, then we tend to do better. Maybe that's your first step. If you're ready to take the next step, then think about doing a 16-8. If you've been doing 12-hour intermittent fasting, awesome. Great initial step. Now take it to 16. And the whole idea there for most people is they're going to eat between the hours of noon and 8 p.m. Pretty simple to do. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Whether you make dietary changes is optional. So let's say you want to do a 16-8 intermittent fasting, but you don't want to make any change in diet. You still want to eat pizza and carbs and ice cream. Okay, go for it. You're still going to see some benefit, even if you don't change the diet. Obviously, it doesn't need to be said, but I'll say it. It works even better if we reduce carbs and increase fats. All right, let's say you've done that and you're ready for something different, or maybe you don't want to do fasting. You just can't do fasting. All right, there's something called a fasting mimicking diet. This is 5 days, typically done once a month. So for 5 days out of the month, you're simply going to reduce your calories. All right. Day 1, 1,100 calories. And then days 2 through 5, 800 calories. Now that's a pretty significant reduction, but there's been a lot of studies of this. This was an idea introduced by Victor Longo on the West Coast, and he's done some studies showing its impact on diabetes and cancer and cellular health. So anytime you restrict calories to the body, whether it's full-on fasting or not, there are some benefits to be gained. And you can see down there, basically, in a fasting mimicking diet, we're going to get protein about 10% of our calories. Fats are going to make up 50% of our calories, and carbohydrates about 40% of calories. We can talk more. I'm going to make another video just on the fasting mimicking diet, because for some, this 5-day lower calorie intake is easier than doing full-on fasting. Now we're getting into the real stuff, 24-hour fast. I love the 24-hour fast, and I love longer fast. This is where the rubber meets the road. I'm not going to bore you with all the scientific graphs, but your body does something very different after 16 hours of fasting and after 24 hours of fasting. Think of it as exercise. If you said, well, I went out and I jogged a half a mile, that's delightful. But you know that's not nearly as effective as jogging, say, 3 miles. And then you know that's not as effective as going perhaps 8 miles, right? Same thing here. The longer we fast, the more we drive the cell into a ketogenic state. But more importantly, the mother of all this is we begin to drive autophagy. When we get 24 hours and beyond, the cell really cleans up its act. And in fact, if you want to reverse type 2 diabetes, you can do it in as little as 2 weeks just by taking on some of this fasting ideology. In a 24-hour fast, all we're going to take in is water, black coffee, or plain tea. No additives, no cream, no sweeteners, none of that. Water, black coffee, or tea. No calories of any kind, no broth. Some people talk about doing bone broth. Not if you truly want to do a 24-hour fast. There's calories in bone broth. There's protein. In a 24-hour fast, you do want to take in some minerals and you do want to take in some salt. That'll help get rid of what you'll read about as feeling lightheaded or dizzy or fatigue or feeling weak. Usually in a 24-hour fast, I actually feel awesome. My energy is outstanding. And as long as I'm doing some minerals and salt, I don't have any lightheadedness or dizziness, okay? If you're only doing a 16-hour fast, you don't necessarily have a great need for minerals and salt. 24-hour fast, yeah, you're going to need that and want that. I'm going to show you exactly what I use in just a minute. A 2 to 3 day fast. Yes, I've done that. First time I did a 65-hour fast. It was challenging. But again, as I came back and did it a second time, much, much easier. The biggest part of that is just the mental preparation. The idea, get it in your head, I'm going 48 hours. Set your mark ahead of time and know that there is a giant Christmas gift at the end of that 48 hours. The gift is you're deeply into autophagy. You're deeply into ketosis. That's the gift. Otherwise, you'll flame out after 36 and you won't have gotten that gift. So stick with it, stay to the end. Black coffee, plain tea, definitely minerals, definitely salt. And then Sometimes people, when they're doing a longer fast, will say, well, they need bone broth. Bone broth is just giving you a little bit of protein, really not giving you any fat or anything else. You can, if you feel you need that, and maybe if it's your first fast, you want to try taking a little bit of broth. I don't. I'm a purist. I just want the water, the coffee. And by the way, when I'm doing a longer fast, I give myself carte blanche to drink as much black coffee as I want. It's amazing at how it can quell kind of the appetite. And the other thought that goes with that is, all right, you're hungry. Big deal. What else you got, right? So you're a little hungry. You'll get used to it. Here's some do's and don'ts. And this applies more to if we're doing a 24 or longer fast. What's allowed? As I said, water, black coffee, tea, plain. Nothing goes in it. Some people would say, well, you can have lemon or lime water. Make sure there's no calories there. We're really trying to avoid calories. Remember, if the cell is given calories, you're not going to drive autophagy as much. We're trying to drive autophagy. That happens when you don't give the calorie, or you don't give the cell any kind of calories to break down. Typically, I'm going to avoid bone broth, especially in a 24-hour fast. Longer fast, maybe you want to add it in, but no soda pop of any kind, not even the diet sodas, even 0 calories. We're not going to take that in. What should I take in? Minerals / electrolytes. This is a product that I use called Reacted Multimin by Ortho. I also take in a multivitamin or a basic B complex. I think those things are helpful. You don't have to. And some people will say, well, when I take in B vitamins on an empty stomach, it bothers my stomach. Well, then you're not going to take them, okay? And you're going to be fine not taking those for a day or two. But I do find they tend to help with my energy. And beyond that, you know, if we're doing this for anti-aging, other things that I like, even during a fast, are berberine, resveratrol from Thorne, that's a resveratrol and nicotinamide supplement, and Q-Best, which is CoQ10. So these are things that I do on a longer fast, along with my multivitamin, my multimineral, but no fish oil. Remember, fish oil is fat. We're not taking in any kind of fat, no calories. So these are the things that I use. On the left, you see Himalayan pink salt, and you can get that anywhere. Grind it up, and you go, well, I'm not eating food. Where am I supposed to put this pink salt? Now, you can put a little bit in your water. You can put it in your coffee, and you just want to make sure you're getting a little more sodium. You go into a little bit of a diuretic state when you're fasting, meaning your kidneys start to work a little bit overtime. You're not getting the water from your food, so you need to drink more water. And in that water, we need to add a little bit of salt, just a touch. The other thing I really like is this multi-mineral from Orthomolecular. It's called Reacted Multimin. These are highly absorbable minerals. And during a fast, I'm going to do about 8 of those a day. And normally, I might only do 4 a day, but during a fast, I'll do 8 a day. And then Mitocore is a multivitamin, so I'm getting my B vitamins, but it also has a few other things to support mitochondrial health, mitochondrial biogenesis, and that's where we make energy from. So I like it for that reason. I'm going to do 4 of those a day. So basically, 4 times a day, I'm going to take a few capsules just of minerals and a multivitamin. All right. Now, here's a common theme. Well, I'm going to be fasting tomorrow, so today I'm going to binge, right? Because tomorrow I'm going to fast. Not a good idea. Here's a general note. If you're going to fast tomorrow, today should be a really good day to start moving toward ketosis. Get your body ready to burn fat, because that's what you're going to do on a fasting day. If you go into a fast, any high carb state, you're going to be miserable. You're not going to enjoy the experience as much. So even if you're not fully into ketosis, get as close as you can. Try to eat more fat, avoid the carb, prep yourself. Eat calories as many as you want, but keep it a low carb day or two before you do the fast. All right, I know it sounds sucky. I don't want to fast. I can't fast. It sounds too horrible. Look, relax. There's other ways. I'm going to give you a few simple, easy first steps that you can do before you get into a full-blown fast. Number 1, look at the window in which you eat. That's the intermittent fasting of 16/8. It's not requiring you to fast per se. You don't have to even cut down calories per se, but just trying to eat between noon and 8 p.m., that's a great first step for people to get used to. Number 2, the mimicking diet. Once again, you're not even fasting. You're just reducing your caloric intake. 1,100 calories day 1, 800 calories day 2 and 5. Again, another great first step. Do that once a month. Do that for 2 or 3 months before you dive into your first fast. And then lastly, if you just did a carb reduction, right? Didn't even reduce calories like in a fasting mimicking diet, and didn't even reduce the window, but you simply reduce the carbs. Eat all you want, but make sure it's high protein, high fat, and that can be a great way to begin to tease your body toward a ketogenic state, making fasting a lot easier. So pick one of those three, use that as a tool as you begin in this direction. So here is a very, very important process I want you to understand. Autophagy. Let's say it with me now. Autophagy. It's cleaning out the cell. It's making the cell behave in a younger fashion. So here is a young, healthy cell. Now, inside that cell, it's basically like a little factory, little conveyor belts that are working, assembling, making things like peptides, which are proteins. That's how cells communicate. They make proteins and send it out so other cells can hear their signal. They also make energy, or what's known as ATP. But basically, the cell has to produce something of use to the body, and that's what its job is. Well, what if that cell is overwhelmed with carb? Welcome to America, right? Welcome to Panera and McDonald's and carbs and crackers and waffles and bagels and donuts and pretzels all the time. If that cell is inundated with high glucose levels, high carbohydrates levels over time, we've already talked about mTOR. There he is, mean, ominous ogre. mTOR is simply sensing, hey, do we have a lot of calories? Excellent. Then mTOR is going to drive that cell to get busy, busy, busy. Come on, man, grow, grow, grow. That's the signal of mTOR when we live in America and we overwhelm the cells with glucose. And so the cell gets very busy and it starts producing and oh, we made some bad stuff. Just throw it in the corner, Steve. It'll be fine. Oh, we had a bad run. We made some damaged proteins. That's okay. Lob it in the other corner. And this is what the cell is doing. It's working at a high rate of speed because mTOR is saying, come on, grow. And as the cell works at a high rate of speed, more and more garbage begins to accumulate inside the cell. These are just damaged proteins, broken organelles, little fragments of junk, but the cell's working so hard to grow that it doesn't have time to take out the garbage, and it accumulates. And now this cell's job of making energy becomes compromised. That's not good. Now this cell is becoming old. It's becoming a senescent cell. So let's start fasting. Why do we fast? If we fast, we change the nutrients around the cell. The glucose has gone away. The cell doesn't sense all of this extra free food. And in response to that, mTOR goes away. The signal to grow is eliminated. And once that signal is eliminated, the cell starts using up all the garbage within it as fuel. It's not being given fuel from the outside, so it has to utilize the broken, damaged proteins, and it begins to eat those up, and that's what autophagy is. Self-cleansing. Self-cleansing of the cell, and its efficiency and energy improve, and essentially, that cell is behaving like a younger cell. That's the blessing of autophagy. But you know what? You and I can do that anytime we want, but we only get to experience it if we've been fasting for at least 24 hours, and preferably 48 to 60 hours. That's when autophagy really increases and becomes an excellent impact. So that's the gift. That's the gift we're looking for when we fast. We want the autophagy. So as you head into a fast, whether it's 16 hours, 24, 48, go into it knowing you're doing yourself a great favor. You're going to clean up the garbage. You're going to stimulate yourself to behave like younger cells. You're going to reverse any blood sugar issues you have. You could quite possibly lose weight. Your brain is going to get healthier. When we talk about weight loss, it isn't that you're going to lose a ton of weight in that 24 or 48 hours. That's not the idea. The idea is what you're teaching the cell to do, what you're teaching the cell to become, a younger, healthier cell, is going to burn fat more efficiently. And after a fast, you're going to burn calories. You're going to burn fat calories far more efficiently over the next weeks, because a fast can have an impact that lasts for weeks. And that's what you're banking on. That's what you want. So I hope this was helpful. Pick your lane, dig in, start it up, try your first 24-hour fast, right? Don't be a weenie. Give it a go. Anybody can do this stuff. And in fact, the people that do this stuff are going to be hanging out with me when the rest of you guys are cashing it in, right? This is how we live long. This is how we live vibrantly and healthy. Hope this was helpful. Stay tuned for more stuff. I'm going to be talking about fasting mimicking, giving a little more detail in the upcoming videos. All right, take care. Bye now.